Stats Report Week 2. My name is Justin. This is a video series where I talk about the stats that are on my brain about the 2-0 New York Football Giants. Still feels really good to say. What we're going to do is we're going to break down the Giants as it relates to them being 2-0 and stacking them across the NFL. What do bettors think about the 2-0 New York Football Giants? Are they believing in them? Then we're going to go to the offensive side of the ball, talk about some of the struggles there and how they have to correct those struggles in order for them to sustain this 2-0 success. Then we'll finish off with the defense side of the ball, some spotlight stuff, player spotlight, Dexter Lawrence, Adoree Jackson. How are the Giants going to deal with Leonard Williams being out? And then we'll wrap it up and we'll get out of here. But let's talk about this 2-0 New York Football Giants team. I think it's incredible that the Giants are 2-0, and this coaching staff is proving that in close games they can come away with the victory, which at least the last two staffs we've had, how many times have we faltered late in games? Through 2 weeks, the Giants haven't done that, but they also haven't earned the respect from bettors that a 2-0 team maybe should be getting. And let's just put it point blank too. You look at the other 2-0 teams across the NFL, what the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bucks. The Giants, talent-wise, are nowhere near those football teams. But I still do find it to be unusual, especially since the schedule is kind of favored in the Giants, at least for the next 2 weeks before we start playing the Packers and the Ravens, right? Justin, why are you talking about sports books on a stats video? These people do their work, and if they're bad at their job, they can lose a lot of money. And if they're good at their job, these sports books, then they can gain a lot of money. So I like to look at, kind of what they're thinking and how they evaluate the Giants from kind of like that unbiased perspective. And it's just kind of unusual to see, even despite the Giants' easy schedule, that they're still ranked so low and bettors aren't really betting, no pun intended, on the Giants. Winning close games and one-possession games especially can be a little fugazi in the NFL. You like that New Jersey Italian phrase I used there? I'm not apologizing for being 2-0 or being one of the ones saying that the Giants are a bad 2-0 team. They are 2-0 and no one can change that, but they are showing signs, mostly on the offensive side of the ball, that if they continue to play the way that they are playing, by not scoring any kind of points in the first half that aren't created by turnovers, shit may hit the fan sooner rather than later for this team. And it starts with the offensive side of the ball and the explosive play report. I included the Tony play here that didn't count because this looks like one of the more intricate explosive play graphics that we've done since we started making these at the beginning of last year. 2 routes of 20-plus yards down the field that aren't just streaks. It's beautiful. Maybe it was by design that David Sills and Kadarius Toney are like running across from each other and David Sills sets like a pseudo pick. But regardless, probably an offensive pass interference call that shouldn't have been made, but also a really good play by Daniel Jones, perfectly moving up in the pocket and making a throw on the run. So in total, the Giants had only one 20-plus yard play to David Sills and did not get a rushing play of 10-plus yards or a pass play of 15-plus yards until the third quarter. The frustrating thing about Daniel Jones right now is he's showing flashes. Daniel Jones is showing flashes of throwing the ball with confidence, moving well in the pocket, and throwing past the sticks. You saw it with the David Sills 24-yard throw, and especially you saw it with the Richie James throw, which was awesome on third down. Like, tight window, you have a Carolina defender that's trying to stretch his arm out and tip the pass, doesn't do it. Richie James' reception on third down, that's becoming quite a theme this year. But overall, Daniel Jones is struggling, and he's missing wide open guys. He's missing opportunities for big 20-plus yard plays. There's probably a lot going on here all at once. Wide receivers not being in the right spots, which Sterling Shepard has talked about. Offensive line is still giving up a considerable amount of pressure. Like, Daniel Jones' pressure rate right now is 42%, which is insanely high. That's like, almost double from some of his other years in his career. Obviously, 2-game sample size is very small, but 42% pressure rate is not good. A lot of that, I think, is self-inflicted on Daniel Jones. We're going to talk about that too. But overall, the offense needs to find a way to be more explosive, and that starts with Daniel Jones. I wish there was a metric that attempted to measure big plays left on the table, but I don't think there is. So you have to turn on the film, and you have to say that Daniel Jones is missing opportunities for big plays. Bobby Skinner's broken that down in his film review. He's also, just if you want to go to his Twitter, he posted just a huge compilation from this past game, arguably 4, I would say definitely 3 plays that Daniel Jones left on the table for 20-plus yard plays. And it's great that we have a scheme. We have Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka that are scheming these guys wide open. Like Daniel Bellinger, the yards after catch that was thrown, in the intermediate part of the field, close to the line of scrimmage, and then the yards after catch that's created there, Daniel Bellinger stretches out, touchdown Giants. That's great that that's been happening the first 2 weeks of the season. Sterling Shepard, wide open. Good throw by Daniel Jones, but wide open, touchdown Sterling Shepard flips the game for the Giants. But Daniel Jones has to also hit these guys that are also being schemed wide open down the field too. This offense just can't sustain itself, and the Giants can't sustain this 2-0 start if you're not scoring points in the first half, if you're not getting plays of 15-plus yards. And these are things that we talked about all last year, but through these first 2 weeks, outside of the 60-yard plays that happened against the Titans, this offense has been really, really abysmal. And there are opportunities for Daniel Jones to convert, and he's just not converting them right now. All right, some other offensive notes that I have. Richie James, wide receiver 1. We all saw it coming, right? Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, get out of here. Richie James is wide receiver 1. This offense is being run through 2 people right now. It's being run through Saquon Barkley, who we're going to talk about next, and it's being run through Richie James. So here's some Richie James numbers for you. 83.3% catch rate and 55 yards per game. We all saw it coming, like I said. What's most wild to me is that Richie James is 21st in the NFL in DVOA amongst wide receivers right now, which DVOA represents value per play over an average wide receiver in the same game situation. So basically, all that, maybe a little complicated, jargon. Right now, Richie James has a 17.1% DVOA, which basically means, in my brain, he is performing 17.1% better than the average wide receiver in the NFL right now. And that's good for being 21st in the NFL right now. So Richie James in key situations and key spots, especially I think what really is boosting Richie James up on a small sample size, 2 weeks, what's boosting him up in this DVOA ranking is that he's been a reliable target on third down. And even some of these 3rd and 20s that they threw the ball to him against the Titans, he's been able to get closer to the 4th down mark, which helps special teams, helps the punt team, helps field possession. So all those things, I'm sure, are going into account to this defense value over average metric that measures how good is Richie James, how much better is Richie James than the average level wide receiver. So good for Richie James. Like I said, there are 2 people where the offense is being run through right now. One of them is Richie James. The second person is Saquon Barkley, and I want to show some advanced metrics that are very, very impressive for Saquon Barkley through 2 weeks. His yards per carry is 2 yards higher than his expected yards per carry. This was a metric in which he mightily struggled in last year. I still think a lot of this is being outweighed by his week 1 performance, which is totally fine. That week 1 performance was awesome. It was one of his best games of his career. But I mean, most importantly, he had a very gritty game against Carolina, where in the first half, there was nothing really there. But according to the advanced metrics, I don't really think he was leaving a lot of things on the table, where in the second half, he was able to capitalize, had some 60, 70 rushing yards through the second half. He was able to capitalize on what his actual yards per carry is and then what his expected yards per carry is with the next-gen stats. So awesome stuff from Saquon Barkley. Hope he can continue having a really good season, not just with the volume numbers, but also the advanced metrics where his own individual performance is rising above the offensive line. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball. I want to talk about the Giants on third down. We'll see if they're getting lucky or if they can sustain the success that they are having on third down. And I put lucky in quotes here because I feel like you make your own luck. Wink Martindale is making his own luck by showing these complicated fronts, by bringing blitzes on third downs, bringing blitzes in key situations, but also he hasn't been going totally crazy with the blitz. I mean, Pro Football Reference has the Giants right now as the 3rd most heavy blitz team in the National Football League, but are they measuring blitzes by simply if Xavier McKinney and Julian Love are coming in on a blitz, but then you have Jihad Ward and O'Shane Ximines dropping back, but you're still rushing 4 guys? I don't consider that to be a blitz. I consider like 5, 6, 7 guys coming in and going after the quarterback. I consider that to be a blitz, and Wink Martindale really hasn't rolled out a lot of that stuff yet. He hasn't rolled out like just these cover 0 blitzes yet. So even though Pro Football Reference has the Giants as a very blitz-heavy team right now, the 3rd most in the National Football League, I don't necessarily know if that's true because, again, you kind of have to watch and you kind of have to watch for yourself as to what the Giants are actually doing. So the Giants' third down success right now, we are going to have to see if this is just simply an offensive problem for the opponents that we've been facing, because we talked about last week how, remember Derrick Henry, there was a 3rd and 1 where he ran out of the Wildcat and he fumbled the snap. There was another 3rd and 1 where the Titans ran like a tight end sweep. So teams have been struggling. Panthers and the Titans are a combined 0 for 3 on 3rd and 1 against the Giants, which really, really good on the Giants defense. But are they going to be able to sustain when they have teams lining up so often in 3rd and shorts? Are they going to be able to sustain getting off the field, which they've done an awesome job? Like, their 3rd down stop rate between 1 to 4 yards is similar to the stop rate that it is between 5 to 9 yards. Are they going to be able to sustain that? That's the only question. I trust Wink Martindale. He has come together with some awesome game plans that have changed every single week. Is he going to be able to sustain it? We shall see. The quarterback schedule that we have coming forward is pretty favorable, but also the quarterbacks that we've played have had some really rough games. Ryan Tannehill had a negative CPOE. Baker Mayfield had a negative 9.9 CPOE. That was the 4th worst in the league from this past weekend. Cooper Rush had a CPOE in the negatives as well, but I'm not necessarily worried about the Cowboys' passing game this weekend. I'm worried about their ability to run the ball. Not necessarily because I think the Cowboys are a juggernaut running the ball this year, but because Leonard Williams is hurt, and he is hurt for the next few weeks. The Giants have given up 10-plus rushing yard plays 2 times this year. One against Derrick Henry, and then the 49-yarder against Christian McCaffrey. Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams were both not on the field for both of those 10-plus yard rushing plays. So this goes to linebackers, and this goes to the interior defensive linemen. Justin Ellis, Nick Williams, DJ Davidson, Tay Crowder, Jalen Smith if you're activated, Micah McFadden, Austin Calicio. You guys, they got to buckle down. They got to buckle down and stop the run. Where, it's kind of crazy that it's a stats report video and I'm talking about how you have to stop the run. But look at the opponents that we have coming up. Look at the teams. Justin Fields has like 20 pass attempts on the year. Cooper Rush is the quarterback for the Cowboys. You know that they're going to want to run the ball with Zeke and Pollard. Aaron Rodgers, who is he throwing the ball to? They really want to get Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon going. Lamar Jackson is that system, is that offense. You know they're going to want to run that ball. So it's important. Leonard Williams has been doing a good job of stopping the run. And when he's on the field, teams are not getting 10-plus yard carries. Teams are not really being able to sustain whatever kind of rushing attack they want to have. So Giants have been the beneficiaries of playing quarterbacks that have had bad performances. They've been the beneficiary of doing a great job stopping the run, and they've been the beneficiary of teams not being able to successfully convert on 3rd and shorts. Will these things kind of continue? I certainly hope they do, but they're in the back of my mind as a possible fear going forward for this defense. So I want to talk about 2 players to finish off this stats report this week. Dexter Lawrence, already mentioned him. He is arguably, I think, the 2nd to 3rd best player on the defense so far this year. I think he's the best pass rusher on the team right now. Like I said, 3 QB hits, and I believe he has 4 pressures. And the run defense efforts, he's been really, really good. Now, he's not Superman. He can't be on the field for 100% of the snaps. So who is going to step up when Dexter Lawrence needs to come off the field? Leonard Williams will be out. Who is going to be the one to step up, and who will be the one to help this Giants defense stay afloat? Now I want to talk about who has been the best player, hands down, on this Giants defense, really since the second half of last year, heading into this year. We were wondering whether he can handle this expanded role, and he has so far. Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson is CB1. Over Adoree Jackson's last 6 games that he has played and he has started, he has allowed 4 catches on 18 targets, 61 yards, and 0 touchdowns. We were wondering if Adoree Jackson can kind of step into this CB1 role, and he has so far. Granted, there hasn't been any awesome wide receivers that we've played, and Adoree Jackson, he mostly lined up on Robbie Anderson week 2 against the Panthers, where he had Cordell Flott and Fabian Moreau lining up against DJ Moore, which was kind of surprising. So I would like to see Adoree Jackson kind of follow CeeDee Lamb this next week. The Giants haven't played all these extravagant, awesome wide receiver ones, but still, Adoree Jackson, Your ass going to be CB1. You're kind of left on an island while the rest of the secondary needs a little bit more safety support, over-the-top support from guys like Dane Belton and Xavier McKinney. Adoree Jackson has held his own. Like I said, 4 catches, 18 targets, 61 yards, 0 touchdowns over his last 6 games played. That's a stats report. Week 2. I'm out of breath. I need water. I'm struggling over here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you for a 3-0 stats report. Hopefully the Giants can correct these things that are kind of going wrong. And hopefully the defense can continue to capitalize on what they've been doing well. We'll see you next week. Be well. Peace. Go Blue.